You worked hard for years and saved down payment, and finally own a house in Canada and think my dream came true. Passive income, sense of security, and a long-term investment. But this dream can quickly turn into a nightmare if your tenant stops paying you the rent. We are seeing a rise in cases tenants owing 20k and 55k in rent and living rent-free for years. But how is this even possible? Today, I'm breaking down the painful reality of being a landlord in Canada. Each frustrating step and unexpected cost, and trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for this one. So in this video, we will talk about how we will issue a 10-day notice to a tenant to end its tenancy. Then we will talk about how we will obtain an order of possession. And then in step 3, we will talk about how to obtain writ of possession and hire a court bailiff to evict the tenant, and how you can recover your unpaid rent. So, how can you evict a tenant when a tenant doesn't pay? First step, issue a 10-day notice to end tenancy. Let me tell you that in detail. Let's say your tenant was supposed to pay rent on 1st of month for the amount 1,000 in March and didn't pay. You waited for a couple more days and then a few more but got nothing. So, you issue a 10-day notice to end tenancy on 10th of March after waiting. Now tenant has up to 10 days to pay up or move out. But what if they don't and dispute your notice? Tenants have 5 days to dispute this notice, and most of them do. I mean, why wouldn't they? If tenants wanted to pay the rent, they would have by now. There's nothing else you can do in the meanwhile except wait for the hearing date. There is no guaranteed timeline when your hearing will happen due to backlog of cases. It could be weeks or even months. Meanwhile, the tenant will stay put without paying rent. You'll pay the mortgage, property taxes, utilities, all while waiting. Second step is obtaining order of possession. Finally, your hearing is scheduled in May. The tenant might argue about financial hardship, repairs, or anything they can to delay the eviction. After the hearing, the arbitrator has up to 30 days to make a decision. During that time, the tenant is still living there rent-free and owes 3,000 in rent. So let's say arbitrator rules in your favor. You're finally issued an order of possession in June. Problem solved? Not even close. If suppose tenant doesn't agree with the decision, they can file for a review consideration within 2 days. That review pauses everything again. Another delay while you wait for a decision on the review. Step 3 is obtaining writ of possession and hire a bailiff. Let's be positive and say tenant didn't put in review. Bit of good news for us, but wait. You can't evict the tenant yourself. You must apply to the small claims court for a writ of possession and hire a court bailiff to enforce it. Hiring a bailiff is also a process that will consume time and money. And suppose you have scheduled bailiff for you in August. It would have cost you around $500 to $4,000 and $6,000 in unpaid rent and around $300 for court fees. Finally, tenant has left after so many months and still owes you unpaid rent for months. So how can landlords recover this unpaid rent? You'll need a monetary order from the residential tenancy branch. But if tenant says, I don't have the money, you're back in small claims court. That's another hearing. Best case scenario, court might set a payment schedule, or you might need to seize their assets. If the tenant challenges it, this process gets dragged out longer and more court dates. By the time this all ends, you could be out thousands of dollars and missed work figuring everything out. And even after all that, there is no guarantee the tenant will even pay. So why is this system so hard on landlords? Tenancy laws are designed to protect tenants, and for good reason. No one wants unfair evictions, but these laws leave landlords stuck in a system that's slow, costly, and overwhelmingly frustrating with no rights. What's worse, tenants can abuse this system, turning it into a nightmare for landlords trying to make an honest living. It's no wonder so many landlords are rethinking about renting out their properties. So what can be done? Should tenancy laws be more balanced to protect landlords too? Or is this just the cost of doing business as a landlord? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you've had a crazy rental experience, tenant or landlord, share your story. Let's get this conversation rolling.